In the last 6 decades, China and Kenya have embarked on a remarkable journey of mutual development where infrastructure and interpersonal ties have woven an intricate tapestry of progress.
So I studied in China in Shandong Normal University. We call it Shandong Shifandashwe. Because I was studying education, I was mainly focused on how do I get through my degree and become a teacher. But after I left China, my mind opened up to so much more I could become. I ventured into interpreting. I still teach, I train people, I mentor people, I do business. So I think being in China is something that really opens you up.
I can converse with the Chinese at a kamanta, hesitate kidogo, but I can still form a conversation with them. Like recently, the clients who came to the office, Chinese people, and my boss called me. Akaniambia, Juundu, unajua Chinese, kids now hapa, sit with us here and translate to them what they will say. And I was given 15 Gs for that.
Gradually, as the years came, and personally as I left for China, came back to teach Chinese language, and I could see the numbers in our Chinese language classes beginning to increase from 10 to 20, up to a time when we had 100 and more in a class.
And through this interest in language, I was in a journey of looking for another language that I could study, and in that process I came across Chinese language, which intrigued me because of its system of writing, that is the writing of the characters, the pronunciation of the words, and most importantly because of its candid culture.
Through the lens of diverse Kenyan professionals whose lives have been profoundly shaped by their experiences in China, we unravel a story of transformation.
First and foremost, there was the issue or the value of punctuality. You know, we are rather African timers, but when we come to Chinese, they are punctual. Number two, there is the value of hard work. When you're working with Chinese, you know they can work including wee hours of the night to ensure that there is success of each and every project they are working on. And besides that, there is also you have to learn the value of honesty. When you're working with Chinese, honesty is key. In business dealings, in all dealings, in friendship, those 3 values are very important for me.
So in total, I've worked for close to 35 years, part of which I've been on my own, and others have been working for different companies, also including Chinese companies. One of the first jobs I did when I came to Nairobi was construction of the Grand Regency Hotel. I was the project engineer. I also was the project engineer for Integrity Center, and I did do some work at Yaya Center. But thereafter, I used to work for a contractor where we were doing natural stone finishes for buildings. So I have done during that time, I did quite a few buildings, both residential and commercial buildings. So I can do decorations of bathrooms, kitchens, external elevations, staircases, lift lobbies, all those things, which are more architectural and engineering in nature.
I am a co-founder of Ubuntu Waterhub Africa with my partner, Judy Chepto. We founded Ubuntu Waterhub Africa in 2022 with the main goal of solving water distribution problem in Africa. To achieve this, we made our first product, which is the Ubuntu Waterhub water vending solution. We have installed it in different parts of Kenya, and our goal is to take it all over Africa and achieve this goal of water distribution.
Undertaken by the China Road and Bridge Corporation, CRBC, funded jointly by the China Exim Bank and the Kenyan government. Such mainstream networks have seen the expansion and construction of more lateral roads to connect to the mainstream network. Activity between the city, towns and villages.
From the skylines of Nairobi to the ever-evolving landscapes of Beijing and Shanghai, the seeds of collaboration were sown, blossoming into a shared narrative of growth. Engineers, armed with knowledge gained from China's technical prowess, have forged the arteries of connectivity that now pulse through Kenya's urban centers. These visionary minds, once students in the halls of Chinese academia, now stand as architects of Kenya's modern infrastructure, shaping highways, bridges, and power networks that bind communities together.
First of all, after the Chinese go-out policy, which I know you really understand well about it, has been a boom on Chinese going outside China to be able to establish their enterprises, their businesses, their factories. And specifically in Africa, and Kenya has been a beneficiary. Lately, we have seen the Belt and Road Initiative that was coined back in 2013 by President Xi Jinping, and our very own President Ruto participated in that BRI that was there last month. From these kind of policies and initiative, we have seen quite a number of increase in Chinese business.
This machine solves the problem of revenue collection at water points. All this data is being collected, and this is what all our clients will see once they log into this. For every country, it will actually give the cost in the currency of that country, and they can see all the transactions that are taking place in this machine.
From your experience, how has Chinese investments influenced infrastructure development in Kenya?
Chinese investments have been key in Kenya's infrastructural development. China's presence has been felt in rail, bridge, port, airport, and most notable, road construction. Hundreds of kilometers have been built in Kenya, such as the Eastern, Western, Northern, Southern, and the Nairobi Expressway.
China was beyond what I expected, in spite of the fact that during those were the days, in the old days. It is not like today. I cannot imagine China today, because they used to say in those days that new China was coming, because we were in new China, but then I think the new China of today is amazing.
When you're doing a Chinese martial arts, it has various benefits and a bigger range of practice rather than Taekwondo, which is specialized on one lane. So I think, having had an experience with most Chinese in Africa and in Kenya specifically, I have had this opinion, and having socialized with these guys, we have had the opinion that this is something new and it's different. Because let's take back the COVID time. You see, people came, we weren't doing any activities, but that is the time most of us started learning these things. From there, we knew that our bodies became different, started changing the activities. So from my own experience, I feel like the Chinese martial arts is now famous because we are having many Chinese doing activities in Africa, and not everyone will go for construction or for teaching and all that. So we who have embraced the idea of Chinese martial arts, we have seen a wider range of benefits from this side.
没有一点的防备，也没有一丝孤陋，你就这样出现在我的世界里，带给我惊喜，只因不醉。可是你偏又这样，随我不知不觉中悄悄地消失。从我的世界里，没有眼神剩下的气息，为你存在我深深的脑海里，我的梦里，我的心里，我的歌声里。Actually, what interested me to the Chinese songs, when I was at home, most of the time I was always alone, and most of the Chinese songs have those feelings that attracts me, and they have the messages that always get into my emotions, and I really love them. And the song is always slow and cool, and it's also unique because most of them are always attributed to their culture.
Amidst this transformation, educators and linguists returned home, equipped not only with language proficiency, but with teaching methodologies honed in the classrooms of China. The dedication has enriched Kenya's education landscape, fostering cross-cultural understanding and knowledge transfer.
The alumni, as I told you, these are people who studied in China or have studied the Chinese language. So for those who studied in China, they know how Chinese people work, they know their culture, they know their traditions. So it's much easier for them to work with the Chinese people in Kenya, and they can orient other Kenyans on how to do that. I'll give an example. When the SGR was being constructed, we did have a few instances of friction between these two bodies. But the SGR management were able to sponsor a training for the two groups to ensure that the Kenyans understand a bit of Chinese language and their culture and know how they'd like to work. And on the other hand, the Chinese people understand some of the Kenyan traditions, even Swahili. So we were engaged as members of the alumni in teaching Chinese people Swahili and English, but also in teaching the Kenyan people what is the Chinese business ethic. So that's just a small example to show how the alumni can act as a bridge of cultures and bringing these two people.
Right now I am in China. I have had myself a scholarship to study in China, which is a great opportunity for me because I'm able to interact with the culture one-on-one. I'm able to interact with the people. I'm able to travel and see different things at different levels. So this is quite an impactful experience for me as an individual through learning Chinese language.
Oh, I have friends who've gone to China. I think they went 3-4 weeks ago, and that was very interesting because they were part of the club and they'd also taken Chinese language. I think they were at level HSK4 and they can communicate well. And it was really interesting seeing them going over there. So personally, I'd want to go to China and continue with my education.
I love the relations between the two countries and the culture too. It's fun taking part in the Chinese cultures. Yeah.
The financial sector witnessed a metamorphosis, guided by Kenyans trained in China's financial hubs. Armed with expertise, these professionals became pivotal in shaping Kenya's economic landscape, steering its financial institutions towards modernization and sustainable growth.
If you look at Kilimani, if you look at Thika Road, if you look at Lamu to Ethiopia, if you look at the SGR project, everywhere we have the footprints of the Chinese. And obviously when they do that, they have to go through financial institutions and they have to channel the funds from China to Kenya. Basically, we've seen an accelerated growth with Chinese business. We've seen a lot of infrastructural, technological transfer in Kenya. We've seen a lot of people saying, I want it done the Chinese way, very fast, efficient. The Chinese are very trusting and all that. So they've shown us very good morals. So for me as a banker, I've seen where Chinese have taken us.
The Chinese have a strict quality assurance system, which is mainly based on good planning and preparation, as well as conducting random checks to ensure that defects are remedied just in time. Also, the Chinese allow more room for flexibility. As you know, sometimes drawings are practical on paper, but not on the real ground.
Cultural emissaries emerge from the halls of artistic institutions in China, bringing back a vibrant blend of traditions and contemporary expressions. These artists have enriched Kenya's cultural tapestry, infusing it with the nuances and vibrancy learned from the experiences in China.
When you incorporate cultures like the Chinese and also African culture, you bring something beautiful. Like African culture is just amazing in its own way. We have the Maasai clothes, we have different cultures. The same way when you go to China, like the different Chinese tribes, you find different clothes, and when you incorporate in something beautiful, when you see a Chinese performance, you're not going to see the same clothes when you see different dramas.
Well, at first when I was going from Kenya to China, I was so scared because I knew I was going to meet other great people from different countries to compete with. But actually when I reached in China, I realized that it was a kind of competition to make friendships and to know people. So it was more of making friendships and making good time.
I play piano and the Chinese instrument called guzheng, and I'm also starting to play violin. Yeah, it's called guzheng and it has 21 strings and you play it by plucking, and when you're playing it you have to wear nails like these ones.
So the lion dance is one of the Chinese performances, okay? It's called wushu. It's a form of martial arts whereby you have this, it's man-made. It's made out of like boxes, okay? And you get to enter inside, and from there you get to perform the moves. Basically, it's not a lion, so you don't have to worry, you're safe. It's a form of entertainment, and it's usually done by 2 people. And if you've mastered the art enough, you can do it by yourself, whereby you get to stand on poles. But it's different stages, because in China they get to practice it from a very young age. So they are very, they've mastered the art of it. But here right now you are practicing 2 people. So there's the head, the person moving the lion, and there's the tail. You'll see the person at the back, yeah.
Definitely I couldn't have done it alone actually. Friendship has been the key factor in helping me in learning the Chinese. Through our performances that we go in different places, we meet different people who try to talk to us in Chinese, where we practice our language. You learn in class, but when you go outside, when you meet people, they don't speak the same language as the one you learn in books. But through friendship with the Chinese people and with the teachers, you get to understand more about the oral part where they speak outside, and maybe you get to understand more about the culture, because a friend will take you to a Chinese restaurant to eat Chinese food here in Kenya, which you don't see much often. So like friendship has really helped us in improving our Chinese language and our mind, opening our minds on how the Chinese people live.
As the tapestry of collaboration between China and Kenya continues to expand, it's evident that journeys of these Kenyan professionals reflect not just individual growth, but the shared prosperity of both nations.
You see, many people probably never heard of such a thing. Some people have misconceptions about Chinese food. Some people don't even understand what China is and the culture. This cookout is not only going to demystify that notion, it's also going to help spread the good word about China, the good word about the culture, the good word about the food, the good word about everything about Chinese, holistically. These events, to me, for lack of a better word, these are the best ambassadorial events that we need to be having, because they spread the word properly.
We hope that in the coming years, we are going to involve not just our students, but also the public into more cultural events. We hope that we can be able to have the public learning martial arts, Tai Chi Chuan or Kung Fu itself, learn Chinese dances, etc.
And I wish all the stakeholders like yourself in China, Kenya-China Alumni, who have been organizing for such forums, and I hope that you can be able to organize more and more, so that we can be able to learn, we can be able to develop together. 我们一起发展起来. Thank you.
自1963年12月14日两国正式建交以来，肯尼亚和中国一直和平共处，历史见证了彼此之间的友谊与合作更加深。经过这段视频，我们看到了中国在不同领域为肯尼亚做出的巨大贡献，从土木工程、农业、教学、商业、艺术等，通通都受到了中国影响。这很明显，肯尼亚目前的发展离不开中国的贡献。两国之间的合作不仅使肯尼亚迈出了超大的发展步伐，同样也丰富了许多肯尼亚人的生活。在此背景下，我们倍加珍惜这份友谊，期待共同的未来。祝愿中肯建交60周年快乐！ 两国关系日益和谐，合作共赢。